3 applications of sunscreen, so I'm pretty much where I need to be.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Whereas the previous day, I was standing in line at the bank for 10 minutes and I burnt both my shoulders. Roll the dice, really.
Oh, you know what they say about lines at the bank.
Hey, gargle my nuts? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one.
Very poignant.
Speaking of gargling nuts, Mortal Shell?
Mortal Shell. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about this one, but I do have some very strong opinions about the way it was designed and the choices they made. So that's something.
Huh?
Basically, it boils down to this. Dark Souls the First, circa 2011, was a very influential, incredibly popular game that changed the entire landscape and created a new genre, and fucking everybody and their dog just desperately needed to like have something just like this out in the world. And that's fine. It's just like we had Doom clones and God of War clones for a while, and now we have like Dark Souls clones. Problem is this. There are actually several games made by this company, and every time they made a new one, they fixed a few things, a few little things, you know. So the movement gets a bit more faster pace, it feels more frenetic. They experiment with the need for shields or like different blocking systems or like certain quality of life upgrades are just put into place to make sure that the experience is, while punishing, still accessible and the sort of thing that anybody can beat if they put enough time and energy into it.
Mm-hmm.
But every game developer out there who says, "Oh, I want to make a Dark Souls game," just makes the first one again, or they do a 2D homage to the first one again. And I just want to say to everybody out there doing draft design documents for a game or pitch meetings for a game or like, you know, coming up with the Bible for a game, fucking stop, okay? Dark Souls was 2011. It is now the year of our Lord, whatever, 2020. It's a 9-year-old skeleton you're trying to build this shit on. Just fucking stop. Go to the sequels, crib from them. Look to the imitators. Look to the innovators that came after. Go to them. Stop ripping the skeleton out of this 9-year-old game and trying to like messily shove it into the fucking meat of your new project. It gets more and more clumsy every time, in my very personal opinion. I know some people are gonna fucking love the fact that this is just like a return to form. It's like, oh man, remember Dark Souls? Remember how it used to be fun and hard, and now the other ones are just like for scrubs and anybody can beat them? Well, this game doesn't do that. This game takes it back to basics. Like fuck stat upgrades and like making sure that you can just like gain levels and maintain the delusion that you're getting stronger when you're not. It's just that your skills need to be sharpened. Fuck that noise. No leveling of any sort, basically. Just shells that get better, quote unquote, but they don't really get better. And like, I don't know. Fuck it. God, fucking game. Anyways, it's one of my first thoughts.
Like, the thing about the first Dark Souls game is, yes, it was hard because it was mechanically hard, but also it was just kind of bad in a lot of ways. And made it difficult in ways that weren't fun. You know, as the games went on and on, by Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne even, you have a game that is still very challenging but is fun to get better at. I don't feel that way about the first one at all.
Mm-mm.
And it sounds like Mortal Shell is the shambling corpse of Dark Souls 1 reanimated again.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. Like, you feel so fucking slow. And I mean, you do eventually get used to this and you're like, oh, okay, this is just the rhythm. But like when you first start up and it's just like, oh, this is as fast as I move off the bat? Fuck no. And like, you're that's the thing about the stat upgrade stuff, like there being no traditional leveling of any sort, is that your tiny garbage ass stamina bar is just whatever the shell has. Different shells, you know, they have like different stats and different strengths and weaknesses, presumably. But like your stamina bar is your stamina bar is your stamina bar. It doesn't, you know, at first it doesn't really move, so you'll like be in a fight, or like you'll like run away for a couple of steps, and then you do like a combo, but then it like leaves you flat-footed, or you miss, or maybe you were hit too hard and the auto targeting turns off, so you just like whiff and like roll right by the guy, and then because you're out of stamina, you're just like mashing on buttons while this guy like jams the blunt end of the sword all the way up your colon. Fucking. And like that's the other thing. The auto targeting will just like turn off if you get hit too hard, or like you're trying to like switch between characters and it's kind of clumsy. So you'll like do a move to no one and just miss as hard as it's possible to miss. Like if you're not locked on, your strikes are just like these wide, swinging, shambling fucking motions that like they feel like they're specifically designed to punish you for not being militant about the auto targeting. She was like, you didn't obsessively lock on to the next guy. Oh, I forgot that. Well, then I guess, you know, you hit air and then you die. Or like, you know, you ran out of stamina and you're trying to run away and you can't run away and you die. Or my other personal favorite, what'll happen is you like hit, because I'm using like an old Xbox 360 PC controller, the guy that specifically is wired, which is like, honestly, mostly perfect for PC games. However, I'll like hit the attack button, or the regular attack button, which is this case is the right bumper, and I'll just like ram it real hard, and then the game interprets as me performing 3 strikes, which again sends me barreling past the enemy, or like run into a wall or something, and it's just like, oh no, and then I turn around and I get, you know, fist fucked by the spear guy or 6 regular dudes. It doesn't matter. Also, the D-pad, and this is just a very specific grievance from my experience, and other players will not have this because they will be using better controllers. The D-pad is the only really big downside in this model. So, like, I'll be, like, cycling through the healing items, and in doing so, will accidentally activate one, because it's, like, a weird connected pad that's better for multi-directional inputs. It's a whole fucking thing. People will not have this problem on the Xbox One or the PS4, so don't even worry about that. But for me personally, this is a huge pain in the ass.
One thing I wanted to ask about is the moment-to-moment combat, because that was one of my concerns when I first saw the gameplay of this game, is that it kind of looked like strikes didn't have too much impact, or didn't have too much effect on your opponents, and that's something that I was very aware of after playing the Avengers beta this weekend, because that is just deeply unsatisfying to play. So I'm curious your thoughts. Does it feel like heavy and satisfying, or?
Well, that depends on who you're fighting. If you're getting the little mobs, like the little guys, the whatevers, a good strike will knock them off their guard and like confuse them, like, whoa, and then you can just kind of like hit them twice more and they're done. But if they're a boss or like a really big guy, they don't feel that shit. They don't care. Even if you do like the big, you get a special attack, which is like both bumpers, and it takes this stupid resource called resolve. You do that one, and basically anybody will be stunned for a second, but your regular attacks the big guys don't flinch. So you're like fighting these big spear dudes, and you're like, I just want to combo you off your guard for a second, but then you just run out of stamina, and they just take that spear and pin you to the wall, and you're like, this was a bad move. And like,
a lot of this sounds fucked. I have a question. Is there ever a time where everything kind of comes together and it feels satisfying?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Not for me. Like, I personally didn't experience that, but here's my big disclaimer, all right? Me hated this fucking game. But Dark Souls hardcores, the people who like loved the first game and like want a challenge, or like, you know, they played it so many times they did a run with like the dance pad or whatever. Those guys, oh, they're gonna love this game. They're gonna love it so much because it kicks the shit out of you in that like frustrating but like kind of satisfying way, I guess, that I was like completely sick of by the time I played Bloodborne. But like if you're like an old school hardcore, then yeah, no, you're gonna be all over this shit, and you're gonna have those good feeling moments. But I didn't have that.
Interesting.
I feel like that's kind of a niche market, though, the people that are super, super into the first Dark Souls and haven't, you know, followed the rest of us along the journey of this type of game to where we are now.
Here's why I think that might not be the case. Because the next big project, I mean, admittedly, it's from Bluepoint, but the next big project is that new version of Demon Souls, which is harder than Dark Souls.
Yeah.
All right. It's Dark Souls for people who thought the game was too easy. And so I think there is actually a market for that, where it's just like, I just want you to just kick the shit out of me. You know, maybe they're into some really weird, you know, stuff behind closed doors, and that's cool. That's what they're into, be it in terms of like bondage or video games. And to that I say, you know, Excelsior, get after it. But like, if you're like me and you thought the games got better with successive releases because of like small but significant quality of life improvements, then man, just let this one go by, you know? If you don't have any fucking rose-colored glasses about the good old days, just let it pass.
10-4.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, copy that.
Yeah. It's too
It-
bad because the trailer
well-
made it look interesting enough, but man,
And it does. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
They work the Unreal Engine 4 pretty hard, although another grievance of mine, which is again a personal thing, and I'm sure lots of people love this, but the Unreal Engine does this thing with motion blur that is contentious enough that you can just turn it off in the settings, because I think it makes games look like fucking garbage.
oh yeah,
And some people probably like it, but to me, when I see that heavy motion blur attached to people's movements, it means you needed something to. I don't know. You know what? I'm talking my ass. I'm not going to make assumptions about what that means to the developers. I'll say that they thought it looked good, but they recognize that enough people don't, that they give you the ability to turn it off specifically because it's gross.
yeah. Most of the time, I see like PC streamers, console streamers going. If there's an option to turn motion blur off, they usually take it. I think that's kind of right. And I agree. Like it does, 95% of the time, make your game look worse than it should.
It looks cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it looks cheap, and I just
Like specifically that Unreal Engine 4 implementation
Yes.
does
Yes.
look cheap a lot of the time. It, you know, if someone has done a really nice custom job and it's, you know, every object is blurring based on its own movement as well as the movement of the camera, sometimes that can be tremendously impactful, but not just the stock checkbox Unreal Engine 4. Now we have motion blur
Yeah.
and
Just there for the sake of being
everything's
there.
blurry all the time.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess the people who are going to be hard into the OG Dark Souls will probably also turn that off, and they'll have a glorious time. And also, another cool thing, my computer is decent, but not the hottest horse in the race, and it ran pretty well. All the settings are on high, and it didn't sweat or stutter in any significant fashion, you know?
Always
There might have been some frame rate dips, but I am not the person to ask about that. If a game goes below 60 FPS, I neither notice nor care, which is why I will never truly be part of the PC Master Race.
I'm with you on that.
Well, James, it sounds like I personally am going to greatly look forward to watching this game be speed run at the next GDQ, but I will not be spending my money to punish myself.
No.
No. As far as like things that use elements of Dark Souls, it could be up your alley, but if you're looking specifically, the thing that I missed the most was the like cheap and cheesy shitty level grinding thing you can do with Dark Souls games. You're like, oh, I'll just like harvest some low level souls and boost my stats and feel like I have a better chance of winning this battle. But they don't give you that. They don't like give you that comforting fiction. And fuck you. No, I want to be able to believe that I can do this, even though it is literally only my skills that will win me the battle. Like, I know in Dark Souls 1 that I'm running around grinding low-level mobs and boosting my stats, it doesn't actually fucking matter. But I feel like it does, and let me have that.